Oh, I don't think the sanctions issue is at all relevant in this. It is the United States that impose sanctions on Venezuela. And if they get hold of Venezuelan oil, obviously there will be no sanctions. And the Venezuelan oil can then be sold in the international market. So that's not the issue. The issue is whether United States and Trump will be able to legally get hold of Venezuelan oil and on what basis.
We're going to run the country until such time as we can do a safe, proper, and judicious transition. So we don't want to be involved with having somebody else get in and we have the same situation that we had for the last long period of years. So we are going to run the country until such time as we can do a safe, proper, and judicious transition. And it has to be judicious because that's what we're all about. We want peace, liberty, and justice for the great people of Venezuela, and that includes many from Venezuela that are now living in the United States and want to go back to their country. It's their homeland.
There's a lot of work to be done here. Right now, what we are focused in, let's be realistic here, what we are focused on right now is all of the problems we had with when Maduro was there. We still have those problems in terms of them needing to be addressed. We are going to give people an opportunity to address those challenges and those problems. Until they address it, they will continue to face this oil quarantine.
No, I don't think the sanctions issue is at all relevant in this. It is the United States that impose sanctions on Venezuela. And if they get hold of Venezuelan oil, obviously there will be no sanctions. And the Venezuelan oil can then be sold in the international market. So that's not the issue. The issue is whether United States and Trump will be able to legally get hold of Venezuelan oil and on what basis. They'll have to negotiate this with whichever the government is in power. Now, Machado, who got the Nobel Peace Prize, has been openly saying that they will denationalize the Venezuelan oil industry, ask the US oil companies to come in and invest, and build the oil industry of Venezuela anew. And this will bring in enormous revenue to Venezuela, and the American companies will obviously profit from it. But it does not seem that Machado is now the favorite of Trump and the Americans to take over charge in Venezuela. Currently, the vice president is in charge, and she seems to be in the saddle. Now, to what extent she'll be forced to negotiate with Trump, because Trump is threatening to intervene more vigorously if he does not get his way. And therefore, there would be some effort by the new Venezuelan government to protect the larger interests of Venezuela and its economy and its industry and its people by reaching some kind of an agreement with Trump. But it'll be a one-sided agreement. There is this other gentleman, Gonzalez, who apparently, as the claim is, had won the election last time, but was denied the election results, and now he's at the moment in Spain, that he will be brought back to take over power. But it's not going to be easy because Maduro has a lot of support in the street, and there is a serious possibility of violence and some kind of civil strife if somebody is imposed from the outside without proper negotiations. So it's a very fluid situation. Trump has started something which he may not be able to control, as we have seen elsewhere where United States has intervened, whether in Iraq or in Libya or in Syria. So let's see how it goes. Well, Cuba certainly, because that has been stated time and again, that Cuba is being kept afloat economically because of the oil that it gets from Venezuela.
Well, Cuba is an interesting case. Cuba is, not doing very well right now. That system is not been a very good one for Cuba. The people there have suffered for many, many years. And I think Cuba is going to be something we'll end up talking about, because Cuba is a failing nation right now, very badly failing nation. And we want to help the people. It's very similar in the sense that we want to help the people in Cuba, but we want to also help the people that were forced out of Cuba and living in this country.
So certainly the United States will stop Venezuelan oil exports to Cuba.
Suffice it to say, Cuba is a disaster. It's run by incompetent, senile men, and in some cases, not senile, but incompetent nonetheless. It has no economy. It's in total collapse. The president already announced a week ago that anything that's sanctioned, it's sanctioned oil, it's not going to be allowed to get there.
With regard to other Latin American countries, let's see. Currently, Trump is threatening Colombia, as he has threatened Venezuela, on the ground that they are producing drugs and channeling them to United States. And the Colombian president is very manifestly anti-American. In fact, in the last UNGA session, he participated in street demonstrations, which annoyed the Americans a great deal. So it's possible that he may take some action against Colombia too, which will then complicate the situation a great deal. As it is, the United States has gone absolutely overboard in reviving the Monroe Doctrine and claiming that they have to have full control over Southern America or the American hemisphere, which is a throwback to imperialism and colonialism of the past. It is no longer feasible in today's world.
Well, in terms of China and Russia, Russia when we get things straightened out. But in terms of other countries that want oil, we're in the oil business. We're going to sell it to them. We're not going to say we're not going to. In other words, we'll be selling oil, probably in much larger doses, because they couldn't produce very much because their infrastructure was so bad. So we'll be selling large amounts of oil to other countries, many of whom are using it now, but I would say many more will come.
China is very strongly present economically in the whole of Latin America. Russia has some friends there. Brazil is a member of BRICS. And Cuba, of course, is close to Russia. So Russia has some presence, but China has a very, very big presence. So how can they exclude China from dealing with a large number of countries in Latin America? What is the means at U.S. disposal to do so? So I think Trump has stirred up a hornet's nest, which will come back and bite the United States. Seen how Argentina, which is the second biggest country in Latin America, has fully sided with Trump in this regard. And one or two other countries have also done so. Latin America traditionally has had right-wing governments and left-wing governments. And they alternate depending on the economic situation in individual countries. So currently, the right-wing governments in Latin America have supported Trump, and the left-wing governments have opposed United States and Trump. So it's not as if Latin America is going to present a unified front against the United States. No. But yes, United States will find it very difficult to manage Latin America. It's a vast continent, a large number of countries, and they have a long time resisted U.S. domination. Mexico is a very, very important player in all this. It is a direct neighbor of United States. Mexico has drug cartels. There is a lot of immigration that comes through Mexico into United States. Trump has made some very threatening remarks against Mexico even now, because the fact is that there is movement of drugs from Mexico into United States.
And by the way, you have to do something with Mexico. Mexico has to get their act together, because they're pouring through Mexico, and we're going to have to do something. We'd love Mexico to do it. They're capable of doing it. But unfortunately, the cartels are very strong in Mexico.
At the same time, Mexico is part of this US, Canada, Mexico free trade agreement. There are huge economic linkages between the two countries. The Mexican origin population in the United States is very large. It's a very complex situation. So Trump so far has tried to build a wall to prevent illegal migration into the United States. And he has said, if you look at your archives, and he has said quite openly that he's told Sheinbaum, the president of Mexico, that if you cannot handle the drug cartels, I can handle them through military action. So it's a fraught situation. Yes, they will have, insofar as China is concerned, certainly, because China is the biggest economic partner of virtually all the Latin American countries. It is the biggest partner of Brazil also. So the economic ties are very strong. They are all part of the so-called BRI project, and therefore they're now going to dealing themselves from China. The United States would have limited capacity to do this because at the same time they want to have a manageable relationship with China. So how far can they go in terms of opposing China's presence in Latin America and then insist on playing a central strategic role in countries and in areas close to China's border? So it's not, and China has become pretty strong militarily too. So it's not going to be easy for United States to exclude other powers from the Latin American continent. But he's embarked upon a very new imperialist policy, which is going to produce a great deal of backlash in Latin America, certainly. But some countries may try and accommodate America to some extent to prevent more pressure and more and the potential possibility of American intervention in those countries to promote regime change and this and that, which they have done in the past. So it's a fluid situation. This is a bit of a joke. After all, Venezuela always had this oil wealth, and American companies like Exxon and others were present in Venezuela. But did the Venezuelans benefit from it? Did their GDP go up? Their per capita incomes go up? The reason why the Bolivar kind of regimes came about in Latin America was because the wealth that they had was being exploited, and the people were not benefiting sufficiently from this, as has been the case with Venezuela, which is why the Chavez nationalized the oil industry of Venezuela. Whether he mismanaged it, the revenues, oil revenues, etc., that's a matter of debate. Now, what has happened over the years is that the infrastructure in Venezuela has got outdated. It needs modernization. It needs refurbishing. It needs billions of dollars of investment in order to extract oil in quantities that would actually materially benefit the people. At the moment, even though they have 300 billion barrels of reserves, they produce only 1 million barrels a day, which is nothing at all. Now, to ramp that up will take many years of investment and improvement of the oil infrastructure. So it's not going to happen tomorrow. And then what will be the share of the American oil companies and how much of the revenues will go to the Venezuelan government remains to be seen. What I have read is that what Trump has in mind is that 80% will go to America and 20% will go to the Venezuelan government, people. So let's not get into this kind of bogus claims that America makes that if they invest in the Venezuelan oil industry, it will be to the benefit of the Venezuelan people. Yes, there may be some benefits that may flow to them, but the large part of the benefits will flow to the American oil companies who would like to recoup their expenses in terms of reviving the oil infrastructure in Venezuela, and of course from the sale of oil internationally. Trump has said openly, openly that they are going to get this oil and they're going to sell this oil in the international market and bring oil prices down, including in the United States.